Roll call, please.
Giles.
Here.
Keith.
Here.
Hendricks.
Here.
Schultz.
Here.
Larson. Here. Hennessy.
Yes.
Hennessy. McComb.
Here, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, thank you, and let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Board members, you have had a chance to review the agenda. I would entertain a motion at this time to approve the agenda.
So moved.
That is Larson. Is there a second?
Second.
That's Hendricks. Discussion on the agenda. Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Is there anyone opposed? All right, that carries. Consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda consists of minutes of previous meeting, bills, treasurer's report, personnel changes, and some surplus property. Is there a motion to approve first of all, if anyone wants to remove anything from the consent agenda for further or individual discussion? Hearing nothing, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
That's Jeremy. Is there a second?
Second.
Merle. Discussion on the consent agenda. Roll call vote, please, Tom.
Hennessy.
No.
I believe she responded.
No. Can you hear me?
No. She's voting no.
No.
Yeah, maybe if she could do thumbs up. She said no?
I said no.
Okay, she said no.
Okay. Schultz.
No.
Keith.
Yes.
Giles.
Yes.
Hendricks.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
McComb.
Yes. Donations. There are, Dr. Hall.
We have one donation this month. It's a donation of $75 from Lisa Powell to the Give Me 5 backpack food programs. Thank you to Lisa Powell for that. That was our only donation this month.
Okay, so we do have the donation to approve. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion on the donation. Roll call vote, please.
Hendricks.
Yes.
Hennessy.
Yes. Can you hear me?
There she is.
Yes.
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 I'm gonna find
Yes.
I'm gonna find a different headset.
Okay.
Okay. Schultz.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Giles.
Yes.
Keith.
Yes.
McComb.
Yes. So donations are approved. We've got no one here tonight from the PTO. Did they send anything? MSEA, did they send anything? Foundation, Lori is here.
All right, so first off, for scholarship for the foundation, they had over 150 applications for the various scholarships. They are working with the principal on plans for student awards nights to award those scholarship applicants, so to be determined at a later date. Secondly, the bash has been moved to May 9th, 2021. The generous donors that had already given money towards the bash told the foundation to go ahead and keep the money, which was awesome.
That's great.
That's it.
Any idea approximately how much money we're talking about?
I did not ask.
Did not ask. Still,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. That's great news. Any questions from the foundation? Anything from visitors tonight, Dawn?
No.
Nothing from visitors. Okay, board members, board communication. We'll start with Mr. Keith. Ken, anything tonight?
Hello, everyone. I just hope everyone is staying safe and staying home and staying healthy. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Schultz, Colleen?
None for me tonight, thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Hennessy?
Can you hear me any better?
Now,
Yes. You're coming
Okay,
through better.
I changed out my headset. I apologize for that earlier. I don't have anything tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Giles?
I just want to applaud the staff that still works with kids and keeps that up, and some of the things that I've seen that give high priority to the mental health side of this, and not just the academics. It's great. Thank you.
Very good. Lori?
I just wrote thanks to the community and the staff for input regarding the hiring freeze. And additionally, thanks for your patience and support during this time where we're all trying to figure out how to do something we've never done before. We're all in the same boat, but we're in it together. Thanks.
Hey, Dr. Hendricks?
Nothing to report.
Just echo my thanks to the staff for everything they're doing right now. I know the work we're doing remotely is new and different, and I know all of us in the room and on the cameras tonight appreciate the work that our teachers and the rest of our staff are doing to make this work. We hear reports from around the country and around the state, and I feel good about what I hear our people are doing. So thank you so much. Financial update, Heather.
Well, we are currently just we're trending along with the budget. And hopefully it will remain that way through the property tax reform and and I know we'll be getting all of our money from the state this year. That has been told to us. I really don't have anything else at this point.
What has been told to us?
You're getting all the money from the state.
This,
The
you
state.
can cut out.
Oh, I'm sorry. We are being told that we will get all of our money for this year from the state.
Oh, that's good news. Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
I'll just add on to Heather's report. I know at one of our recent meetings, we talked about concerns with property tax bills going out and how that was being handled. And I think Ken asked if we were going to weigh in on that. And we did work with the village and some of the other taxing bodies here locally and sent a letter that went out today to the head of the county board. It also went to the county executive, the treasurer, and all the county board members. And basically the gist of the letter was, hey, we understand that right now we're in unprecedented times and that there are people out there that are hurting and may have some difficulties in coming up with property tax money. We understand that. We also understand there's a lot of folks that are prepared to pay on time, and certainly where money's been escrowed, a good portion of that is in. And we asked them to please bill on time and ask people to pay on time, and suggested that for folks that may have an issue, that they do some type of allowing late payments, not doing penalties or late fees for some of those people that have been hurt by this. So I think the county board's to meet later this week. I think the superintendents in the area are sending something also. And I think some of the superintendents plan on speaking at that meeting. So, everyone I talked to at the county level seems to indicate that that kind of approach makes sense. We'll see what they do.
Hey, Max.
Yeah.
So was that a letter on behalf of the board?
That was signed off on by myself and Sean and some of the other heads of taxing bodies. Yes.
Okay, can you email that to the board members when you get a chance?
Yep, that just went out today, and I'll get that to you so you can see what went out.
Thank
Do you
you.
know when that, sorry, Ken, go ahead.
I was just saying thank you.
You're welcome, and I thought I sent that to the board today, but I may not have, so.
Do you know when that county board meeting is?
I believe it's Thursday night.
Thursday night.
Yep. Okay. Anything else for financial update for Heather? Okay, Dr. Hall.
Well, my superintendent's report, I just wanted to provide an update on our food distribution, how much and how that's going. It's going very well. We also received a nice sizable donation from the United Way of Champaign County to provide supplies that will support at-home learning, and we anticipate distributing those supplies this week. We have a number of hotspots that are up and running, and according to our data, those are being used. And also this month's FOIA requests are on my report. So food distribution continues, and certainly welcome anybody into that who needs food. And again, eligible kids are anyone who's under 18 and lives in our school district.
Questions for Dr. Hall?
Where is CWE?
Canada Estates.
Dr. Hall, we should have some students that would still be in school that are 18. Can we cover those kiddos?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, and so let me just, thanks for asking that, because it does include anybody who's in our 18 to 21-year-old program as well. So if you're a student at this or your family, then that's also covered. And then anybody else who's 18 or under.
Okay, thank you. Oh, you said 18 and under. My brain is thinking under, sorry.
Anything else for Dr. Hall?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Dr. Hall, do you have any other background information on those two FOIA requests?
No.
Okay.
The letters that the requesters wrote are on our website, and other than that, don't know.
Okay. Anything else for Dr. Hall? We will move into new business. And item number 1 is the resolution for the bonds for the field house. And I think Heather's going to present that. Heather?
Yes, and I also have Kevin Hyde. Well, Kevin Hyde is also on the line as well. He is from, he is.
Yeah. Hi, Kevin. We saw you a minute ago.
Are you still there, Kevin? I know you're doing a couple
Yep.
things.
Sorry, I'm here. I just have Pontiac High School's adopting at the same time, and they just called, so I'm just putting them on hold for a minute. So we'll go ahead here first.
Okay.
Well, Kevin has brought good news to us. We had 2 banks bid on our bonds. The winning bidder was Commerce Bank, and the interest rate came in at 1.98, lower than what was expected.
Say it again.
Did you say 1.98?
Yes, 1.98.
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
So Yeah, and it was a savings of $5,000 overall, but very good interest rate for our $965,000 construction money. So
The bid came in quite well. We are experiencing a lot of turmoil in the markets right now, as I'm sure everyone's well aware. But smaller issues that are bank qualified like this tend to be doing much better than the larger non-bank qualified issues that are going on in the public realm right now. So, a very, very fine bid from Commerce Bank, and I think everyone should hopefully be very pleased with that.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to read this because I believe that the resolution has to be pretty exact, based on previous experience. So here we go. I'll read this and then we can discuss it. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the resolution authorizing and providing for an installment purchase agreement for the purpose of paying the cost of purchasing real or personal property or both in and for the district and for use of $985,000 debt certificates series 2020 of the district for the purpose of altering, repairing, and equipping school buildings and facilities of the district, including but not limited to the Mahomet-Seymour High School Fieldhouse, and authorizing the sale of said certificates to Commerce Bank. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion or questions for Kevin or Heather? Hearing none, I need a roll call vote, please.
Schultz?
no.
Can't hear you.
No.
Sorry, John, no.
That was a no.
Giles?
Yes.
Larson?
Yes.
Keith?
No.
Is that enough?
Hennessy?
No.
No. Hendricks?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. Okay. So the resolution passes. Kevin?
That's
Anything to add?
that's the only thing, I guess, the action item. There'll be signature items that I think Heather has
Yes, I do.
the officers to complete. And I think we have closing, I think, scheduled for about 2.5 weeks or so. So money will be available at that point.
Okay.
Thank you for all your work, Kevin. I appreciate it.
Oh, our pleasure. We enjoy working with you folks, and good luck on your project.
thanks for the good bring, Evan.
I'll bow out. Thank you.
Item 2 on the agenda, reduction in force. Resolution reference decision to discontinue certain extracurricular assignments, duties, and stipends. Dr. Hall.
Thank you. So I want to start off by just very clearly stating that this reduction in force has absolutely nothing to do with the discussion over the past few weeks about hiring or not hiring. We made a decision, actually last summer, I believe it was, to do this year, and this action allows us to more closely and accurately track on our employees who we do not employ full-time, but who occupy a number of different coaching and stipend and sponsorship positions in our district. So there's 28 people who are part of this reduction in force. They are all invited to reapply when the jobs are posted, and we know that some of them will and some of them won't. So there's a lot of turnover in these positions, and sometimes what's happened is people don't let us know if they're going to continue. They can be difficult to track down sometimes, and then we don't have a resignation. In this way, again, just clearer record keeping on each of these positions. And then the other thing that this does allow for, if the opportunity is there, that some of our new teaching positions or other positions that we would hire for full-time could then perhaps occupy some of these open positions, which is always preferable to have someone who works in the district or in the building to occupy these positions. So we have notified these employees that we would be taking this action. And then there is some follow-up paperwork that we'll be sending out tomorrow via certified mail. And then again, we will post these positions at the appropriate time next year. So again, just want to make sure that it's very clearly stated and on the record that this reduction in force is completely unrelated to any of the discussions the last couple of weeks.
Okay. Well, let me read this so we have it right in the record. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the reduction in force. Resolution reference decision to discontinue certain extracurricular activities. Certain extracurricular assignments, duties, and stipends. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
That was Dr. Hendricks. Discussion.
So just to reiterate, all 29 are part-time, non-employee
Correct.
participants.
This is their only employment in our district.
Got it. Prior to the decision to do this again at this point, I know we used to do this all the time. Then for reasons that folks thought were good at the time, we got away from that and went to a different approach. And it appears that approach maybe isn't working as well as we thought it might. So now we're back to the original.
We also have more people to keep track of as well.
And I know there is more people to keep track of. That's part of it, I'm sure. So. Any other?
I have a really hard time if we have acknowledged that that it's believed that we're not facing any financial shortfalls and not heard any legitimate grounds about any of the 29 people. It seems to me that there has to be a better way for us to keep track of these employees than to figure all of them. And so I can't bring myself to vote to get rid of all of them when we're having a communication issue where we just need to keep track of them. Seems like we could maybe figure out.
Okay.
Is it appropriate to interpret this also as just simply a 1-year temporary appointment, and we should just then do that each year?
These are 1-year temporary appointments.
So they can't be construed as continuing employment.
It is a gray area with these positions, and that's why we want it to be clear by taking this. It has nothing to do, again, with anything related to our financial future. We're not getting rid of these people. They're welcome to reapply, and in fact, many of them have coached for us for a number of years. And then there's some people that just come in, do something for a year, and then move on. So it is, there's not any, with these positions, not an expectation of reemployment. This is just a formal action to verify that, essentially.
Logistically, what are we doing differently that's going to allow us to keep better track this time than we have in the past?
This action you're taking tonight or potentially taking tonight?
Yes. So if we take this tonight, what are we doing differently when we rehire them that allows us to track them in a way that we cannot track them now?
So this makes it clear that these jobs are all now open, and there will be more of a paper trail in terms of hiring. The internal paper trail will be clearer.
I think one of the issues has been, there's been people that don't intend to come back, but they haven't communicated that.
That happens sometimes, yes.
And therefore, at the last minute, we're scrambling because everybody assumed that this person was coming back, and for whatever reason, their situation changed, or they failed to communicate it, and so this as a way for us just to say, everybody, and these are one of your temporary appointments, and just to be clear, y'all need to reapply every year.
Correct.
What's the timing on reapplying? Does this all happen preschool year, or if they're in the
some of it
spring,
does.
it could be later?
Yeah, some of it happens at the beginning of the school year. It depends on the season. It depends on the positions that are open.
Okay.
Often we don't hire spring coaches until springtime. It just often depends on who's available. We generally, I think, post all the jobs, but then I'm not hired until later in the school year.
So are these people being removed from their positions? Is this everyone who holds a part-time role in extracurriculars?
These are only people whose only role with us is in the positions that are listed in the resolution. They're not full-time employees, they're not teachers, they're not paraprofessionals. They simply occupy these coaching positions because they're available. Or,
Did you say that one of the goals was to try and get more of our full-time staff into these positions?
that can happen. It's a possibility.
But is that a goal of this RIF process?
I would say that is a possible outcome, and that would be a positive outcome, but that's not the sole reason for doing this.
And did you say, did we do this last year, or we did not do this last year?
We did not, but it's been done in the past, and it's not an unusual thing for school districts to do.
We've done it for many years prior to that when I worked here, and then they do it in another district where I work as well.
We used to RIF far more than just coaches.
Right.
And part-time folks too.
It's 400 stuff to read.
So
There was a time when we ripped lots of positions every year, in addition to these. Then we kind of backed away from all of that. And so I would call this probably a middle of the road approach. Maybe we were too far one direction and maybe we went too far the other direction. And so now the pendulum's coming back in the middle. But there used to be, I believe we used to roof a lot of professionals every year
That could be.
back in the day.
Will people who are reapplying for these jobs be given priority for those jobs over new applicants?
I think it just depends on the position. If we have an internal meaning, we have a full-time employee, a teacher, or paraprofessional, that is generally our preference, but sometimes we have people who have very specialized expertise who apply. There are not performance issues here, so those decisions are left up to our athletic directors about who should best fill and who can best fill these positions with their expertise and background.
So I think I understand the goals that of this approach. I have to say, at this time of surging unemployment, that I don't think I'm going to support doing this, but I would consider it in future years when there's not so much uncertainty for folks about whether or not they're going to have a steady paycheck. And I think this is a bad time to do this, to be honest.
These are extremely part-time jobs. I'm not downplaying the importance of the money to anybody, but they're not, full-time salaried or hourly jobs. They're paid a stipend per the negotiated agreement that we have with the MSEA, and it's often just a couple hundred or a couple $1,000s that's spread out over the course of the year.
And these people that were notified in October, that we would be voting on this, correct? Is that correct?
Most of the people on the list received a letter from me in December, and then there were some folks that were hired after that, like for spring sports, and they were told by our athletic directors.
Okay.
So hopefully, we communicated that clearly and what our procedure would be.
Other questions, comments, or discussion? Okay, we need a roll call vote on this, please.
Keith,
No.
Larson,
Yes.
Hennessy,
No.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Schultz,
No.
Giles,
Yes.
McComb.
Yes. Next, it's good to have Sean and Kelly with us on the call tonight. And this is road placement on the south part of our property. Dr. Hall.
So there's a map included with this item that shows slightly new placement of the road. When we've been talking about the road placement, and we're talking about South Mahomet Road as it transects a number of parcels of land south of this building, south of Middletown Prairie. Those were conceptual drawings that had not been engineered, or other things such as topography and safety and landlines and other development opportunities had not been taken into consideration. And so the map that's included here is a new placement of South Mahomet Road based on coordination between engineering and planning to find the most optimal route from the proposed new railroad crossing all the way over to Prairie View Road. So the new placement on this map that's included tonight is slightly northward of where we had been looking at the road placement before. And this is really the ideal placement for this road. Divides the property south of Middletown Prairie on not so much a 50-50 basis now, but it's more like 1/3 of our existing land is north of the road and about 2/3 is south of the road. So I will invite Mayor Widener and Kelly Pfeiffer from the village to just comment and offer your input and expertise on this, and provide any helpful information or answer questions from our board. Appreciate you being here tonight.
Well, thanks for having us. Like Dr. Hall explained, as far as the coordination between engineering and planning, I'll give everybody just kind of a snapshot of throughout the process. We have not initiated professional services with this portion of the project yet. Now the intent tonight to give everybody an update of where we're starting from with the initial thoughts, and the engineering and planning has all been internal so far. As far as the location, what really drove the most of the thought and alignment would be the existing topography and drainage attributes throughout the entire corridor. So with that, I mean, Kelly's on the phone as well. We definitely looked at other filters and considerations for an optimal route, and this is what we are moving forward with. We wanted to give the Board of Education an opportunity to look at it and available for us to answer any questions you guys have tonight.
Question I have, property owners to the east, where are we at with them on this?
So as far as property owner coordination, both east and west of the school property are, I guess, in process or in progress. However, nothing firm other than what we've already coordinated with the physical railroad crossing and that initial alignment coming there by the lake. From that point all the way to the east to Prairie View Road, we would be coordinating with the property owners as a result of us moving forward with this alignment.
I can, this is Kelly. I can jump in, and the land to the west of you was under pretty significant study by outside engineering firms for its development potential by the landowner over the last 3 or 4 years. So we use that information and those conceptual plans and the utility information as well as drainage. We use that information to try to align South Mahomet Road to mitigate some of the design concerns that they had had when it was farther south, to see whether the northerly movement would make that property more developable, given ideally stormwater, which is a challenge on that site, as well as the proper amounts and configurations of land that makes it flexible. That the property west of the school, by the positioning of South Mahomet Road, essentially in the center of it with half and half, allows the drainage to go on the north side of South Mahomet Road, will go to the lake. But on the south side of South Mahomet Road, they can do their own detention. When we have less earthwork to be moving, less pipe we need to put in, it does lower development costs, as well as it results in 2 pieces of property that are similarly proportional and work pretty well with different potential land uses and layout of residential lots that they're looking at. We have not done that study at all to the land on the east. We are simply looking at what we would know from the topography, the drainage, where our current utilities are, where our EMIS plan is. But as far as land use, no, we have not worked that closely with that developer.
So,
Damien, do you want to share a little bit about your thoughts on how this looks long-term for us?
Yeah, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, so I just took a quick look at really future needs, not necessarily doing any direct layout and sketch, but really doing a study of what kind of land use we would need and looking at everything from size of the building to the parking necessary for that, parking necessary to meet all the village guidelines, as well as looks at things like baseball and softball fields, perhaps tennis, even soccer with a track. Looking at all those items, I came up to a quantity of land, if we were to kind of bulk those together, right around 30 acres. And one piece I forgot to mention there was the new transportation location. So just kind of thinking of all the things that have come up in conversation over the past several years. I don't know necessarily that we would put all those south of the road. I think that other planning considerations would come into play for play fields and all of that. But in essence, looking at it, I actually think that the move makes that south portion of the site a little better sized for the full junior high suite of spaces and fields. But still also does still leave some space. I mean, that 16 acres north of the road is still very viable. It could house things as, transportation and a couple of fields could fit up there easily, depending on how we look at parking and those types of things. So I guess the short answer is, yeah, I think we could still fit on the site really pretty well with the relocation.
So 6 weeks ago, Kelly told us that it was really important that the road go on the line between Purnell or whoever owns that top land and the Atkins group. But now the road goes through someone's property. So if you haven't spoken to them about that, how confident are you that this would be the plan? Since it's going right through someone's property, that I'm assuming you'd have to eminently domain if you want to build a road through someone's property that's not developing or has no requirement to develop, right?
Well, I'll start, I'll respond, and Kelly, you can follow up. The village has no desire to pursue eminent domain. That's not our past practice, nor something that I think that we're even considering. We've had, of course, many discussions in the past with developers and what they want on their properties, but until a viable plan is presented, those are just basically ideas and visions. So we would anticipate moving forward from this point, working with those landowners and working on their visions or their plans and how they would foresee this to develop. But certainly a roadway infrastructure coming through the property is going to be attractive to any developer, landowner looking to develop that property. So as far as the actual location, really what drove the direction of where we went was the ideal location of connection at Prairie View Road. This was from a safety perspective as well as just a engineering alignment location preferred, which overlaid very nicely with our existing infrastructure and utilities on Prairie View Road. So maybe Kelly, if you want to maybe walk us through, or Dr. Schultz, as far as how the interaction with the developers, how you would see that play out from here on out.
Sure. Yes, the last time that I spoke to you, I explained that we had chosen an alignment on the property line, if you will, between the Purnell development and the Atkins. That was chosen thinking that there would be at least one developer that could utilize the benefit of that road to assist in paying for it, et cetera, to get it to happen sooner rather than later. I had also said that we couldn't move it a little bit north of there. We had to move it what some would consider substantially north or substantially south. And the reason and the rationale there, and that's why there's 300 feet that it was moved north, that's not accidental. So 300 feet of depth of the Purnell land could exist on the south side of South Mahomet Road and make a viable commercial lot. So we couldn't just go 50 feet off the property line or 100. There's a reason that it went 300 feet north. We have spoken to the representative of the investment group that owns, and we've had very close contact with them. Well, not the actual investors, but with their representative since I've been there for the last 6 years. So we had suggested that this could be, in our move, a benefit to that developer to get development sooner rather than later. And they understand the value of having this road built farther north, their property. It enables the sanitary services, more of their land to be served going northerly, that they can do sooner rather than later. So the concept of having the TIF build a road that they can then connect their roads to from a financial aspect is very attractive for them. What it means is that at this point, we looked at the topography, and this particular developer definitely understands topography and earth moving. We did it in a way also that should reduce the earth moving costs and the drainage costs, utilizing. So what we're running with South Mahomet Road is actually pretty consistent with a plan they had ages and ages ago, looking at the topography that would have put their own road in that area. So again, it's more the land. So in this case, yes, we have to come and have a discussion with the developer. But like we said, we're bringing in the utilities. We're going to make the current flagpole part of one of their parcels that they can't build on anyway will become the right of way. And it allows them then a better geometry of the remainder of their land. So we believe that it's absolutely doable, that we would not at all have to pay for right of way or force right of way to go through there.
What we're responsible for on with Churchill Road, with the South Mahomet Road moving north, does that mean that we have less of Churchill Road that we have to construct?
There's 300 feet west of Churchill Road.
Okay. How much is that? 300 feet?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't have the numbers.
It's less.
So I'm
But it's
sorry,
less.
did you just say that, did you just say that the district is not going to be on the hook to pay for 300 feet of the Churchill Road now?
Just to confirm, the
That was-
Churchill Road would not need to go as far south anymore, correct? Sean and Kelly?
As far as the exhibit you're seeing tonight, everything in the green would be proposed under the TIF project, TIF funded project infrastructure. Correct, Kelly?
That's correct. Am I muted still?
Except for the stuff on Prairie View Road. Sorry, I don't want to misspeak there.
So you're saying the TIF is still going to build Churchill Road
South
for
of
the
South
full
Mahomet.
length?
No, the TIF district is going to build Churchill Road 300 feet south of South Mahomet Road to assure it'll use what right of way we currently have for Churchill on Purnell's and on yours, and allow basically a quad intersection available and access to Churchill, the Atkins property, without moving Churchill south to that property line. Atkins doesn't have access to Churchill Drive. So we would take Churchill to that shared property line between Purnell and Atkins.
But the TIF is building that, right?
Correct. So, so basically, the school is not responsible for any more infrastructure than what you guys come up with for future plans on your own site development. Damien will speak to, or in the future, somebody will speak to, I guess. But as far as what's on the exhibit, it would be the TIF-funded project.
Right. We're done building Churchill Road.
So my question for Damien is, this change, is this better or worse for the district?
So my understanding is previously it was along that essentially 300 feet south. That's right, Kelly?
It was even farther.
So in that case, yes, I think this is better for the district. The way that it's dividing the space. Dr. Hall mentioned 2/3, 1/3. Based on just, again, initial study, I haven't talked to teachers, I haven't done a full planning, but the types of acreage that we would need for the types of fields that I'm aware will likely need to be out there, I think that this move is better for the district long run.
What is the total width of the road and the right of ways that you have plotted here? Kelly, you said it's a 4-lane road and then 80 foot.
No, so if you look at the exhibit, and let me see if I don't have it printed out, so let me pull my thing up. So I can speak to what you're looking at. Okay, so are you able to see the exhibit?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you look at the bottom right corner of the map, so on west of the school property, it's a 24-foot, it's like Sunny Acres. So like through the property to the west of the school, it's like Sunny Acres Road. 212, It's a rural cross section, so ditches. We're not talking about curb and gutter. And on the east side of the school, where it would have higher traffic because of Churchill and that whole section, we're at a 36-foot pavement. The right-of-way width that we're using is 80 feet, which is our standard through there that we can fit both those things through, depending. So we believe that there'll be more traffic between Churchill and Prairie View Road, obviously, on South Mahomet Road. The traffic and therefore the cross section between west, from your west property line through there, it can be done. I'm so sorry about my voice. Can be done with a 24-foot pavement. We'd be continuing the South Mahomet Road. And it does include a bike path on one side of the street and then a sidewalk on the other.
So I really appreciate your explanation before and explaining that land, which obviously the school doesn't really have any interest in determining how that goes. But my question is, what do you think the probability is that this is how the final drawing is going to be?
In my opinion, significantly. From the point, at least probably 900 feet, 1,000 feet in east of the school district's land, so into Purnell, I would say from that point westerly, it's in a pretty good position to enable some very quick development scenario, as well as flexible pieces. What then Randy, the development group, decides to do as a path to take it to Prairie View could be open for discussion with them. It could go south of that 5-acre farmstead. We don't believe that they'll want to do that. There's water on the north side. We have a better site distancing for the land uses. However, we have a little flexibility when it comes to with Prairie View. But really the topography is pretty interesting on his land. And unless you want to move a whole bunch of dirt, or you're going to do some really small lot residential, there isn't very much flexibility due to the curve radiuses for the speed of traffic that you would need. So
you're pretty confident that where the road is across the school property is where it's going to be in the end.
Yes. I believe if we give you that now, let me jump back. If you guys decided that you wanted to try to see it not go perfectly east-west on your property and sweep a little bit farther south on the west side where it meets the private developer's land, potentially that can work. It won't be able to go any farther north where it meets that developer's land because the existing lake is a constraint. And then we only have so much room between the south side of the lake and his property line by which to make the geometries of the road. So at that point, like if you wanted that road to enter the school district property farther north on the west side, we can't do it.
Could we exit more north?
What do you mean by exit? I'm sorry.
Sorry. I guess if I was thinking of going from west to east, I'm not saying that we want to, I'm just asking, could the road on Churchill be more north? Could South Mahomet Road hit Churchill further north?
We were under the understanding that your board, the boards before you, etc., really wanted that South Mahomet Road to be pretty far south. And we were therefore as conservative as we could be in making the land area that is north of South Mahomet Road smaller. So we were trying to keep it realistically as far south as could be beneficial, but putting it as far north as they really need it for the two property owners on either side of it. Does that help?
I think moving it north the 300 feet like you've done, I think that's good for us. To Damien's point, it gives us a larger parcel on the south side to work with for a potential school site, so that's good. I don't know that moving things further north is necessarily a problem at this point, since we've got the large parcel on the south side. Although you start to mess up the geometrics if you start to slope it too much. There's something said, I think, about working out of a square, because we'll end up using that 16 and a half acres on the north side for something at some point.
And Matt, I don't interrupt. This is Damien. I think the rectangles are easier to plan out, especially when we're looking at fields and things like that that really function that way. My only concern, I'm not saying we can't or don't, but that the proportions of it right now are kind of like perfect storm of flexibility. You know, I was talking about transportation, sports fields, parking. Right now, we could probably nestle that north of the road. If we make that, say, 2/3 as big, now one of those probably has to go south of the road. So now we're controlling how we plan our junior high site to fit in our transportation hub or to make sure the baseball field's there. Where right now we've got all of our options, you know, of where those things go. That would be just my
Your thought is this is pretty ideal.
I think this, and that was my study of doing it. I thought this worked really well, gave us a lot of flexibility.
What if the built is not a junior high, but an elementary school?
Elementary school would need less site. Typically the buildings are smaller. So that would just make there that much more space to the south of the road. Really, if it's an elementary, we don't bring any other fields with it. It's a completely different discussion. Because you lose 10, 12 acres of need with that. So it's kind of apples to oranges, that decision. But I think if we can get it straight across the site with the topography, I think that also maximizes our flexibility, because we're not going to have weird corners that we're trying to fit parking lots into or not able to put sports fields into. That's just my
two questions to go with that. Can you guys remind me, just for perspective, what the width of Churchill is to the north of MPE up toward the library? What is the width of Churchill now?
I believe that is a 36-foot back-to-back pavement, curb and gutter.
Okay. Got it. So that would be the largest width. So the second question is that on our portion of the 24-foot wide proposed street, is that going to prohibit and give us grief with police bodies and otherwise and safety if people try to park along the side of that street and go to the ball fields?
That street will be marked for no parking permanently. It won't be constructed. If we were to build it wider, we could, but parking along a traffic street like that isn't advisable. So like I said, it'll be Sunny Acres and no one will park along it. So you'll need to have your own parking for your own different uses on your own property.
That's a really good answer. It makes me think, though, that we tried forever not to park to the west of the high school football field, and that never worked.
Yeah, you have an excellent point there.
Kelly or Sean, could you guys, can you guys remind us? So I think it's Darren Peters to the west, and then
Yeah.
the properties that are to the right. Can you remind us, what are those currently zoned as? What do you think they're going to be developed as?
Okay, I can speak to that. So the property to the west of you that is currently owned by Darren Peters, who will not be a developer, he reminds me of that frequently. It's single family residential, and it is already zoned that way. The land to the east of you was zoned when it was annexed in as part of the TIF. So it became our default zoning at the time. At that time, it was what we call residential suburban, RS. So it's our large lot residential suburban. The current zoning is not indicative of the intended land use. That's why we have the comprehensive plan. The land uses that are envisioned in that area are offices. There is some low density residential, some different commercial. The higher classification of roadway that we're putting in, you will see sub-collectors go off of that. And so I think you'll see some larger lot developments, multi-building developments. We have plenty of residential in other places. And from a sanitary standpoint, I also don't see any multifamily happening north of South Mahomet Road. As a buffer, I think we'll kind of go from our commercial straight into some office uses. I don't have the land use plan to show you, but it is in our comp plan. That is the better indication of what the land uses would be. As a part of this process, working with the owner to the east of you, is we'd be performing an area general plan for the land holdings. That is the first step in doing right-of-way dedication. You do prelim analysis on what your different land uses are, the different zonings. We see multiple zonings in there, and it's that portion that will kind of dictate whether that road moves at all. Does that help a little bit?
Yes, thank you very much.
So through the school land, this seems as though it says it'll be 35 miles an hour. In our September joint meeting, I believe it was said that it would be 25 miles an hour. Is it planned to be 35 the entire length, or?
I can't speak to that. Sean, can you, because our engineer is not on the call. I apologize. I should have anticipated.
Yeah, that's fine. So the way that we've got at least the geometry that you're seeing on the screen here is, I would say, being flexible and meeting the minimum criteria for a 35 mile an hour street. Certainly, like we did other streets within the village, going to a 25 is okay and can certainly be up for discussion. We're not at that level of detail at this point. Certainly, with it being in the school area anyway, you're talking about school zones for speed limits anyway. I guess my point being is the takeaway is what's laid out will accommodate the 35 mile an hour street, and a 25 will certainly be okay too.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Sean and Kelly, what do you need from us this evening now?
I think what we're looking for is just the Board of Education of where we're at, so we're all on the same page. But also just hear the conversation and hear the input. I think that the previous question is, can we tweak this or can we tweak that? I guess sure, we can always do that. But we went through a series of alignments and routes, and this is the optimal route. So to go back to Dr. Schultz's comment and Kelly's answer is we do not anticipate any major revisions to this, assuming this is what we move forward with. As far as
I like the changes.
I would just like to say I appreciate that you came and told us what your plans were and had open communication with us about it.
I appreciate you putting this together. Personally, I think this gives us some better land use options than the original design. And so thank you. Does anybody else have anything to add?
Yes, thank you. Good job.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Anytime.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
No one's got anything else for the village? We'll dismiss Kelly and Sean. Of course, you're always welcome to stay.
Well, thanks, but that's okay.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is authorization to go to bid on high school projects. Dr. Hall.
This is just a recommendation to go out to approve, for the board to approve the letting of bids for these two projects at the high school. This just gives an opportunity then for after the bids come in, the board can decide whether or not to proceed ahead. Both of these projects were very close or over our $25,000 bid threshold. So this is the renovation and kind of reconfiguration of the office area and the replacement of the existing dust collection system spray and the spray room exhaust systems in the industrial arts area. So Damien is still with us if there are questions about this, but again, this is just approval of going out to bid. We would anticipate then probably at our May meeting, if you approve this, then there would be bids available to approve at the May meeting or not approve.
Okay.
So in October, these 4th, whatever, were presented to us at a total cost of $117,000 approximately. And this appears to be $239,000. So can you speak to the more than doubling of the cost?
Yeah, so first of all, walking through these 4 projects, the intent at that time was some preliminary budgeting of kind of where we were with each project. Since that time, I essentially have engaged with different vendors or contractors that the intent was to, proceed with the projects as such. As they kind of dug into them between gap to the estimate as well as kind of an increase to the scope of work, has landed us where we are. If you look at the second page to the backup, you'll see with these, just the breakout is kind of a quoted figure, which is something I've actually gotten, in essence, a bid from a contractor to perform each of these scopes. I'll just note that estimating this small of a piece of work is extremely difficult. Big pieces, you get order of magnitude and scale. Small ones, it's kind of the way the wind's blowing that day. But what you'll see on these as well, just for the bidding and just for this authorization tonight, wanted to give a true picture of what could happen with bidding over the next couple of weeks. So you'll see there's still some design contingency that's been added to these that wasn't being included at that time. Again, that's just a little bit as we create actual bid documents that will, might find additional work. You'll also see in this kind of a bidding fee that was added to these. That's kind of being included in that bottom line number. I can tell you that us doing this hourly, I think it's like, 6% or something if you add them all up. I mean, that'd be, if we gave you a fixed fee, it'd still be
21,000 for all the bidding.
How much? 21
21,000 total for the bidding.
So, like 8 or 9%, this would easily be a 12, 15% bid. So I was trying to keep that as contained. The biggest piece, honestly, of all of this are the two pieces of equipment at the industrial arts room. We had initially gotten some quotes from vendors for that total system install of like $49,000. That was like an all-in figure. In the meantime, as we began to try to engage with them further, the dollars just continued to climb and climb and climb to when, in essence, the most recent budget was even higher than what is being shown here. So at that point, I mean, those dollars escalated. The paint booth, and again, bidding them out. So part of it's the market, I guess. Part of it is some of the contingency that's been being shown as a part of these. And yeah, part of it was just the understanding of as we got these and more detail was going into each space, we thought we were hoping to save the district dollars by going on the quote route and having contractors bid them and create them directly. That's the case. So we think that we can get better dollars as a bigger package through all of it.
Damien and Heather can chime in, I suppose. What funding source for this? What money are we spending from where if we do it?
I'll let Heather speak to that.
Would any of it be health, life, safety, Damien?
Oh, the industrial arts, we could apply for amendments for that if the funds are available within the HLS.
Okay. Then otherwise it would be spent out of our regular budget.
Okay. Secure entry, some of that can be paid for out of tort, I'm assuming.
Yes, secured entry is being paid out of tort. The things are being paid out of health, life, safety.
Damien, you mentioned a few minutes ago that there was an increase in scope. What was that?
For instance, items like at the office conference room, as contractor got above the ceiling, there are some penetrations through walls that were there from years ago that have to be patched. There were some existing conditions, I guess, kind of under things as they were trying to get a closer quote that just was additional work, beyond just pull the wall, move a light switch type of stuff. The industrial arts work, I don't believe that was a change of scope. Honestly, the quote that we got, we felt they had a good understanding of what we needed. It just ballooned, and we didn't feel comfortable working directly with them any longer. We wanted to bring our engineer in and actually engineer the system. The underlying need of all these hasn't changed as far as putting in the secured attendance office, moving office space into the conference, building a new conference room. All those things are still the same. It's just a matter of some of the nuts and bolts underneath it as the contractor was putting together a more almost finalized quote. Then once we got to the point where, you look at the student entry, yeah, we're under our $25,000 bid threshold. However, with one quick, oops in the field, you're over your 25. Also with that, separate from the office and conference rooms, it just seemed that they start to just meld together and it just makes more sense. Once the bid. So yeah. So no additional scope from what we discussed as far as the intent of the projects, just some further detail once we got into it.
And so, from what I can tell from this bid, we are going to incur a cost of $21,000 to go out for bid, whether we do or do not do the project. Is that what you're saying here?
Up to 25 or 21,000.
Okay.
These are really rough estimates of time to be spent. The industrial arts one will probably be in the $5,000 range, like minimum. It needs to be fully engineered, so I've got an engineer that would be on board. The office and conference room remodel, I think I've got what, 12,500 there total. I want that to come back at half. Because that means I spent half that time on it, and that means it's half time built. But yes, up to $21,000 essentially of saying, yep, we feel comfortable getting that out in. But it would only be time. The agreement would be time as spent. So you're not signing a check today for $21,000. If I get it done in half the time, it's only half the burden for the district. But again, I was trying to put worst case for here because this is the second time we presented these projects. So I didn't want to have to ask for more budget in a month.
Good choice.
Okay, the superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the letting of bids of these two projects. Is there a motion to do that?
Is there a way that we could break these into two motions, one for the health, life, safety, and then one for the office, two separate projects?
You broke up on me. You want to do what?
Wondering if we can have a separate motion for each of the projects, one for the office and then one for the industrial. Thank you.
Okay.
The industrial. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So let's go first with the industrial arts project. Is there a motion to approve the bidding for the industrial art project?
So moved.
It's a motion by Dr. Hendricks. Is there a second?
Second.
Lori, thank you. Discussion on the industrial arts project.
So the question is, if we were to piecemeal these and do not all four, is it a potential that we'll spend more? Were there any synergies in having a contractor come in and do all four? Damien, do you think?
I don't think, by the way that you're currently dividing them as far as industrial arts versus the office suite, no.
Okay.
My intent was to put it out as one package with alternates so we could see the costs. But I didn't want to run into having 2 or 3 more contractors on site. However, if you decided to do just industrial arts or just office, those two I don't see have a lot of impact on one another.
Can you repeat that last line you just said, Damien? I'm sorry.
I don't see that if you decided to do just the office package or just the industrial arts, I don't see those having a negative impact on each other.
Thank you. I heard you better that time.
Okay. Anything else in the industrial arts piece? Okay, can we roll call vote on the industrial arts package, please?
Giles,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
McComb.
Yes. Okay, so now we've got the high school secured entry and office project. Is there a motion that we go out to bid on that?
So moved.
Giles, is there a second?
Second.
Larson, discussion on the office part of the project. Okay, we'll roll call vote on that, please.
Larson,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Giles,
Yes.
Hennessy,
No.
Keith,
This is the secured entry, correct?
Yes.
I vote yes.
Schultz,
No.
McComb.
Yes. Okay, Damon, bring back magic. We need it like 20% under the bids.
Don't everybody at once.
Just wanted to make sure humor worked over the internet. All right.
It does.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here tonight.
There's one more thing.
There's another thing.
Oh, you can't go yet. Never mind. Authorization for architect to complete health, life, safety amendment. Oh, yes, you get to stay for one more, Dave.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you want to take this one, Max? It's all you. It's all good.
Well, unfortunately, I know more about this than I want to. Dr. Alden.
So this action item is to recommend that the board approve the authorization to have our architect, Damien, file a health by safety amendment in the amount of $65,000. This would be to repair the issue that we're having with the main commons floor at the high school. Damien put together a detailed memo to the board, and I'll just turn it over to him to answer questions or go over that and provide a summary of what needs to be done.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully everyone had a chance to read through the memo. The subject matter is boring and complicated, so I'm happy to answer anything that wasn't clear. But in baseline, or kind of the root of all of this, is the commons floor currently has an extremely high level of moisture below it, based on testing done in 2015 and then redone in 2019. We see that the levels, at least during the reading, have changed dramatically. Bottom line, the glue is not made to withstand that type of moisture. Be it the glue that was put down, regardless of what it was not ready for that. And there actually aren't even glues today that can meet the requirements of some of the levels we were getting. We were seeing 99% humidity in some areas. As we've looked through this, the solution, well, we really have one option, but we have a second option if we want to talk about this again in a few years. One option, the one that's being recommended here, is that we take up the existing floor, we mitigate the moisture concern below, which is actually a topical solution where we bead-blast the floor surface, a coating is put down that actually traps moisture from being able to come through it, and then they skim coat that so the glue can stick in, and then they reinstall the floor. What that does is essentially it makes the moisture below the slab or in the slab not even matter because it can't move through the slab any longer. The other option, like I was going to say, is that you just take the floor up, you clean it, you relay it. It's just going to happen again. Regardless of who we ask for, what type of glue we put down, that will happen again. Looking through this, as you can see, the recommendation as well as kind of the costing is divided into two parts. The reason for that is that the contractor, Neverman Flooring, is offering up 100% warranty for the removal, cleaning, and reinstallation of the floor surface. So essentially they're redoing the entire part of work they're responsible for under their original contract. And then that $65,000 portion they would be performing, it costs the district utilizing HLS dollars in my recommendation. That would be work above and beyond their initial contracted work, but would also provide the ability so that they could actually warranty the floor going forward, and that it's happen again. That's the long and the short of it. I'm open to questions.
Since we've been dealing with this for 4 or 5 years now, technically we're out of warranty, but they're essentially being good sports on the warranty part, correct?
Correct. Yeah. In reality, an installation warranty is typically a year. A lot of this goes back to their communication of the exact product. A lot of the argument part, they just forgoed that part and said, I can't tell you exactly what glue I used. I'm going to warranty the floor, which I think is excellent on behalf of the district. I mean, it's 100% warranty. It's almost unheard of. The additional costs that, like I was saying, I was recommending we utilize health, life, safety dollars. That's what they're intended for, are these types of failures. Had we gotten 99% readings in 2015, we would have likely spent $65,000 then as a change order of the project. So the fact that we're doing it now, I don't see that there's additional costs, that it's an additional burden beyond what we would have undertaken at the time. But that's only because the contractor's stepping up and providing that 100% warranty for their piece of the project. So
what is the $65,000 for then? What's the scope of the above and beyond?
yeah, so that's pretty much everything below the glue. So the way that it would be, when we install it going back, we've got our concrete slab. They will blast that surface and it'll kind of break up the top of it so something can stick to it like really, really well. Then they'll put down this product, I think it's Ardex is the brand. And that sticks on there, and that's essentially like waterproofing. So that doesn't let moisture come through it at all anymore. Well, since it can't be penetrated by even water molecules, that means glue can't stick to the top of it. So on top of that, they have to put a skim coat down, which is essentially like self-leveler put under your bathroom floor. That's what the $65,000 pays for. So the labor to bead blast, the Ardex, and the skim coat. Then
And that wasn't, I'm sorry, that wasn't part of the original scope because we didn't think we were going to have the humidity issue, or?
Right. So in the original contract, they were asked to take RH readings, relative humidity readings within the slab. That's actually page 5, one in there. So what they did there was they're asked by the contract to take those readings and to then determine two things. One, are they high enough that, or are they low enough that they can provide a glue the manufacturer will allow to be installed? If not, then we go on and request mitigation, the Ardex process. In these readings, being in the mid 80s, no red flags were raised as far as with the slab. Glues, even 5-6 years ago, until you get to that 90, 92, 94%, that's where real red flags were raised. So it was determined by contract, hey, we've got the glue we can put in, manufacturers recommended for these conditions, let's install it. So they did. Then as we got the failure, and as I saw literally like glue was seeping out of the floor, it's like, okay, this is a moisture issue. I had the same contractor, I asked them to take readings. The lab sent those back. And that's where page 6 reads. You can see RH in the concrete. Now you can see there's only one of them, or two of them even in the 80s. And we even have ones reading as high as 99.9, which is essentially water sitting on the slab. Right now it's a hypothesis, but it makes a lot of sense that that slab is about 40 years old. At that time, underneath it, they put a piece of plastic down, a vapor barrier. Might not seem like it would because there's no UV, but those do break down, just like in your crawl space. If over years, after 40 years, it just turns to nothing. That we kind of installed this floor right before it really started going, and that over time, it's gone. Now we're getting these higher readings. And it's pretty clear, like Max was saying, that it's been happening for a couple of years because it's been slowly kind of liquefying that glue. But to answer,
No, thanks. I just was wondering where the original scope was differing. Thank you. That answers that.
Yeah. So that's to answer that initial question. Yeah, as they took the reading and it wasn't beyond what the materials could handle. That's where.
So they think one of the possibilities is the plastic continued to break down underneath.
Yes. And it's very a common.
Clearly higher moisture readings now than we did when we initially did the project. And it just seems odd that I guess seems plausible that the plastic could be breaking down.
Yeah.
So, but
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it is strange. I don't disagree. This would be a much different conversation if we were trying to get them to put any skin into the game. I think the case of if if the test had read before what it's reading now, we would have done this then. I think that's kind of the bottom line to the story, but
And doing this treatment will mitigate any water issues we might have with further breakdown or any slab issues.
right.
It kind of, this treatment renders that water irrelevant. Is that correct?
Exactly. That's the word I was looking for earlier. Yes. Thank you.
Sure.
Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the authorization to direct BLDD architects to file a health, life, safety amendment for the amount of $65,000. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Larson and Dr. Hendricks. Is there further discussion on this?
Good explanation, Damien.
Thanks, sir.
Roll call vote, please.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes.
Giles,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
McComb.
Yes. Damien, I think we are finished with you now. Thank you for being here tonight.
This is the most I've been out of the house in 5 weeks. I might just stick around. I'm only kidding. Have a great night. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next on the agenda, Title I waivers. Dr. Romo, are you still there? I see a square with your name on it.
All right, I'm here.
All right.
So this is the third year that the state has allowed school districts to apply for a Title I waiver to go school-wide for schools that have a free and reduced lunch rate that falls below the 40% threshold, but above the 20% threshold. We're currently at about 23% at both Lincoln Trail and Middletown Prairie. Most of our title dollars are spent at the elementary level, and so therefore we're requesting again to apply for the school-wide waiver, allowing those title dollars to be spent on all children in the buildings and not just students that are receiving specified title services.
Okay. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the Title I school-wide waiver as presented. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Larson and Giles. Further discussion or questions for Dr. Romo? Something we've done before?
Yes, this will be the third year.
Yep. Okay, if there's no discussion or questions, roll call vote, please.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Giles,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes.
McComb.
Yes. And item 7, consolidated grant application. Dr. Romo.
This is the second year for the consolidated grant. If you'll recall from last year, the state has taken out various portions from both the title and the special ed grants and some other grants, and everything now flows, or these pieces of the grant flow through this consolidated grant. I think the initial intent was that it would be less work. I'm not sure that Christine and I would agree that it's less work. It's just different work. I did, you'll notice there was a part in there where you have to point out how you receive parent input on this. We had several things planned for this spring, and those events are not taking place. I contacted our representative at ISB, and so there is a note in there that many of those things were canceled, and then we'll be rescheduling those events in the fall. But otherwise, other than those events that we've previously held that we were not able to hold this year, everything else is very similar to last year's application.
Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the consolidated grant application as presented. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Larson, is there a second?
Second.
I think that was that Dr. Schultz?
Yes.
Yep, okay. Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Schultz,
Yes.
Giles,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes?
Hennessy,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
McComb.
Yes. Don, do we have any new communication?
No.
Okay. At this time, a closed session is necessary for litigation or an action against, affecting, or on behalf of a particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which cases the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed session meeting. Is there a motion to go into closed session for that reason at this time?
So moved.
Hey, Max,
I've got
can we add student disciplinary cases to that, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
It needs to be specific students.
Is it a specific student?
Yes, it has to do with what's in the board's packet, and it's about specific students.
Okay. So we'll add to discuss a specific student discipline situation. Dr. Hendricks, are you still okay making that motion?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Who was that?
It was one of the squares on the wall. I think it was
I think it was Colleen.
I think it was Colleen. Hollywood Square. Okay.
Hollywood Squares, we said.
Dr. North, yeah, Dr. Rommel for, never mind. Okay, here we go. Any further discussion on closed session? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Keith,
Yes?
Larson,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Giles,
Yes.
McComb.
Yes, to the public, we will come back into open session briefly after closed session. We do not anticipate any business at that time. So at this time, thank you for those that were here and viewed and participated in the meeting tonight. We're going to go ahead and sign out of this WebEx. Board members and administrators that are joining us in closed session can sign into the closed session link, and we'll go ahead and adjourn for about 5 minutes to allow us to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharon.